Hello everybody and welcome to Square Balloon Actions and Tutorials. In this tutorial I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to change the crop of this image and show you how to fill in textured blanket where there it wasn't any before in our new crop. And I'm also going to change the color of the background blanket here to have it a little bit more feminine for her. At the moment this blanket is just a little bit close to her skin tones and I want to separate her out a little bit. So the first thing we're going to do is our recrop. So I click on the crop tool and let's see, let's have it something like that. So we need to fill in some of this missing information. I'm going to use the lasso tool first, and using that I'm going to select an area of good blanket. I'm going to press Control and copy and paste, which just means that that selection is going to be pasted onto a new layer. And for this I'm going to stretch it out using the warp tool. I'm just going to grab the end and stretch it out. So right that end. And then for this side I'm going to use the clone tool. So click on the clone tool. I have 100% opacity, that's what I want. And I always clone on a new layer. It's the easiest way to mask back if you need to tidy it up at all. So I'm going to click on, I will do it again. I'm going to click on an area here and then try and match that up with this one here and make the best kind of clone source, and then just bring that over all the way to the edge. Now I'm not too worried about this here. Maybe that bit there needs to be changed, made a little bit better there, because we're going to do a little bit of a fade off. So it's okay that that's just a little bit looks a little bit off there, because our fade off will probably cover that up. Just going to bring that up. Okay, so there's our texture blanket, which is we filled in with the clone tool and the warp tool. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to change the color of the background blanket, and we're going to do that with curves. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I'm going to select the blanket before we make our adjustment, and that way the baby's automatically masked and we can see what we're doing more easily. So just going to click on the blanket with the quick selection tool. I'm going to hold down Alt now to minus. And we're going to be quite careful here, because when you're changing color, anything that you don't, if you select too much of it, then it's going to start changing the color of the baby, which you don't want. So we want to be quite neat here. So once we've got that selected, let me just a little bit more here of the hair. Okay, we'll go to refine edge and see what it's like. Yeah, it's not too bad. Let's get a little bit more here. Okay. So once we've got that the background selected, we can go in and we can make our curves adjustment layer. And let's see. So I'm going to make it a little bit brighter in the shadows. I want the whole blanket to be a little bit brighter. And let's see. Add a little bit of magenta, and then yeah, I think that's quite a nice color there. So that's our blanket change, and I'm pretty happy with how that looks all around the outside. Just a little bit down here by the hands that I can see that we just need to mask back. And of course we can mask back with black. Let me just find a soft brush, and with black you just go over the bits that of her skin that just got affected by that color change. Maybe a little bit over here too. We don't want a hard line. Okay, I think that's fine. Fine up there in her hair. Yeah, that all looks fine now. So now we're going to do a radial gradient to make the background all a little bit more smoother and to get rid of this slightly lighter area that we have here. So I'm going to choose a color from, we'll flatten that down. So I'm going to choose a color from the center, from right beside her head, which is sort of a pale pink, maybe even a lighter pink from this side. And then I'm going to click on the background here, and I quite like this this color up here. So now we have our foreground and our background color. We click on our gradient tool and we make sure that it's on radial gradient, and on a new layer we're going to go just from one to the other. Okay, let's make it a little bit brighter on this side, so let's go like that. Okay, I think that looks kind of nice. It looks nice and smooth. So we can, let's see if our selection is still there. We can reselect from our old selection, and let's see. So we've got our, when we have our selection and then we click the mask tool, we get an automatic mask. So there's our mask, but obviously we need to mask back a lot more. So we're going to get our paintbrush with black at 100% opacity for the start, make it nice and big and soft, and just make sure that it's at 100% just for the first bit. Then we're going to lower the opacity. Whoops, a little bit more than that. Make another line. And then as we go further out, we're just going to lower the opacity a bit more. So just bring back in as much as you want. Okay. I quite like this shadow here. It just keeps it a little bit more real. And of course you can paint on this gradient here if you want. Say if this corner here, if you feel it's a little bit dark, you can always change the color of that just by painting over it with a low opacity. So I quite like how that's looking now. Of course, how much you bring back is just your own personal taste. If you like to have it a little bit more transparent or opaque in the corners, that's just a matter of how you want to paint over there. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a slight blur on this. Now in Photoshop CS6 there is a blur gallery, and I would do an iris blur, but I'll just show you how to do it as well. If you're using CS5 or below, you can just duplicate your background layer, go to filter, blur, lens blur, and let's bring the radius down a little bit. Yeah, that's probably enough like that. Okay, and the reason why we're doing it on a new layer is so that we can use a mask and a black paintbrush. Let's go 75%, and bring back what we want, just so it's a little bit more blurred at the edges. Okay, so there we have our new picture where we've changed the background color, we've done a little bit of blurring, and we've done a recrop and added some of the missing blanket that was there in the recrop.